Picking up where we left off in the last video, our next step is to add the flight control board. Now this is going to be pretty simple, at least initially. All we have to do is plug the cable into here and mount this down. But this is going to be another test point. We could have added this on, by the way, to the last video, but I wanted to kind of compartmentalize things and say that's soldering the ESC done. Now we're moving on to adding flight control board and actually testing the motor. So this is a pretty big deal for a lot of people that have never done this before, because we can test them. We can see the actual motor spin and we get to hear what they sound like, and that's always very cool. So, but before that though, we can do another test straight away as soon as we mount this on here, because after we mount the flight control board, if everything is working properly, we will now be able to get the return signal from the flight control board for the beep codes for the ESC and the motors. So the last video we tested it and we got the we got the first half of that little pattern. Now we should, if everything's working correctly, get the response back, and the flight control board does have lights, so we'll see the lights come on. Classically, most boards like this, like Arduino dev boards, ARM Cortex, any board will usually going to have some type of signal light on here. Power light, a signal light, and kind of a data activity light. So if it boots up, if it turns on and we see one solid light and it just sits there, that's usually a bad thing. You want to see a light come on, and then you'll see some kind of routine, flicker, 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 blah, 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 you know, and then some other state will happen. So we'll watch for that. So first things, let's go ahead and plug this in. Make sure, of course, you're getting the pins the right direction. And this one here, it does twist. We are supposed to put a little twist. We will need to put a little twist in the cable. Okay, so that's secured. So I went ahead and repositioned a little bit so you could see more of what I'm doing. And I wanted to point out that this is a 3S battery. Make sure the battery you're using is okay for all components, the motors, the ESCs, the flight control board, etc., before you plug this in. All right, so here goes nothing. Sweet. So that's what we're supposed to get. So again, did you notice we got on this board here, green light comes on, it waits a little bit, and then we start getting flashing. So let's do that again. Plug it in. Excellent, 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 excellent. So we are now at, I guess, milestone number 2. The flight control board works. The motors seem to be working as far as beeping goes. The flight control board seems to be functioning the way it's supposed to. Nothing, of course, smoked, and that's an excellent thing. And that's no joke, because that has happened more than rarely. So now the next step is we're going to take this over to the other bench where my computer is. We'll get the camera over there somehow or another. I'll figure out how to get this whole thing sorted out so that I can show you back and forth at the same time what I'm doing in Betaflight as it happens over here live. Okay, I think I have everything sorted out here so we can try to explain what is going on. So over here we have Betaflight. Betaflight is this is Betaflight configurator, right? This is how we're going to send code to the flight control board over here to program it the way we want. We're going to dig into Betaflight later down the road, but right now this is just initial connection and then getting to test the motors. The next step after this is, well, still not configuring. We're going to have to get to the BL Heli suite so that we can change the motor direction. So that's another thing we'll have to talk about in the next video. So for right now, what I am going to do is I'm going to plug in the USB cable here to the drone, And what I want you to look at is right up in here is the port selection. Now, this will be a little bit weird for some people because I'm running Linux and the devices here show up differently. So it says /dev. This is the way that it works. On yours, you're going to see COM1, COM2 on a Windows machine. On a Mac, you'll probably see the same kind of thing as this, more like a dev. So here's the point of this. If I am not currently plugged in yet, you will see maybe COM1 there. You'll see possibly something. I see a whole lot of stuff, but that's again, that's a weirdness here. So I'm going to plug this in and you should see that change. If it doesn't change, then there is a driver issue. So Linux and probably Mac, I don't think you're going to have to install any drivers to get this to work. Windows people, you're going to need to install the drivers. And they have them listed here on the front page. You can go here and download the ones you need, but a couple other options that are a lot easier. Mainly because ST Micro, in order to download from here, you're going to have to create an account. And a lot of people don't want to do that or just don't want to hassle with it. So what you can do is you can go to Impulse RC or just type in Impulse RC driver fixer, and you're going to get a file there that will fix your drivers if you have the wrong ones installed. But if you don't have any installed, it will install them and all will be good. Also, Joshua Bardwell on his Google Drive has the STM drivers up there somewhere. You can find those as well. Okay. So here's the first step. Come over here, plug this in. So you plug this in, you're going to get the board is going to come on, and then right there it just changed to, on mine, it changed to ACM 0. Okay, so yours should show up if you're running, most people are probably running a Windows machine, you're going to see this as COM something higher than 5 or so. It's usually something like COM 20, COM 40, COM 50-ish, right? It is definitely not COM1 or COM2 or those lower COM ports. Don't try to connect on those, it's not going to work. So now that it's plugged in, and over here we've got the blinking light that shows that it is functioning, then I can hit connect. And then this is what you should see. So this is the beginning of, I guess you could call this another mile marker, another milestone along the testing and checking, because right now if I move this, it moves there. And so that is validating my accelerometer. So the board is actually functioning. You could calibrate it if you like, but we're going to talk about this later because it doesn't matter at all at this point in time. What we want to do is we want to go down through here, through the list, and we're going to go straight to motors. I want to stress this section right here. As far as I guess harping about safety, this is a real deal. You want to make sure that your propellers are removed. I know it's going to be a hassle after the whole thing is built and you want to come in here and you just want to check it, test it for just a second. There's a couple things you can do that will cause this thing to go full on really quickly. And the 3-inch is, again, this is going to be, it'll hurt you badly. Whereas a 5-inch could send you to a hospital for sure. So you really want to take this part here seriously. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to plug in the battery and we'll get the beeps again. And at that point in time, I could flick this switch on saying I understand the risks, and then it will enable the motors. The motors will be ready to go. They won't be doing anything, but then I can move the slider here and they hopefully will. Okay, so let's go over to here and plug in our battery. Great, and it still beeps, so it didn't break between one bench to the other bench. And then, like I said, we come over here, tick the switch. It is now fully active, fully armed. The other thing I want to point out is I screwed the nuts onto here by hand just a little bit. And this is not really a danger factor, but if you didn't put them on here very strongly, when you spin the motors, they're not going to go flying around your shop and kill anybody. They'll just kind of flop off of here. So don't either take them off or tighten them down just a little bit more so you don't lose them. Then back to this window here, what do we want to do? Do we just want to go for it? Do we just want to go for it and just hit the master switch and see what happens? Or do we want to very nicely test motor 1 and then motor 2? Well, let's just bring them up here. Now, what I can do is I can just grab this, the drama. I could just grab this slider and move it up just a tiny little bit, and it moves in kind of an incremental, digital, if you will, fashion, tick, 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 so it has increments. But if you just click on it, you can't see what I'm doing, but I can just use the arrow keys now, and it will move it up and down, the arrow keys on my keyboard. So you can see what I'm doing. I'm gonna go ahead and use my mouse. Ready? Ready? Here we go. So gently, by the way, damn gently. Do not grab this and just yank it up. You'll see what I mean in a second. Isn't that great? Here, I'm gonna take my lapel mic off, and I'll put them over here so you can hear better. Pretty cool, right? That is still, I mean, I don't want to say, for the past 40 years I've been doing this, but for the past, I don't know, 5-6 years that I've been into these little guys and watching the motors change over time, it has been absolutely incredible because, I mean, the first ones, 5-6 years ago, they were great. It was amazing, but they have definitely gotten better over the years. The tone is excellent. So anyways, enough gushing about that. That is all the motors functioning. Now, they are not spinning the right direction. So again, like I said, in the next video, we'll have to take care of that. But what I do want to do is prove out, make sure that we've got that flight control board, or excuse me, the ESC flipped over the right direction. So remember we were talking about this way or this way. We want to make sure that if it's correct, this should be motor 1, that should be 2, this should be 3, and that should be motor 4. Okay, so we come over here to motor number 1 and we'll bring that one up, and then this one right here should move. Excellent. Again, if you want to run this one on the, now I'm just holding down the arrow key on the keyboard. By the way, see this? That's not a problem. They always do that at the very, very low signal. They're not going to run. So you got to bring them up a little bit more. There you go. Damn, if that's not robotics, what is? By the way, I don't know if you caught that time and the time before, it was smoothly coming down and then suddenly it just clipped off. I'm hitting home. Well, sorry, don't hit home. End. I'm hitting end. One of the ways that you can really hurt yourself, or maybe possibly hurt the drone, well, here, I will show you and see if we blow this thing up. Okay, I mean, it should take it, but I don't want to do that too long. Home and end are full speed and full stop. And so right now I was selecting motor number 1. If I did that to the master and I hit home, that's every motor full on. And if you happen to do this with the propellers on, it's gonna launch. Okay, so since we're at it, let's go ahead and go through all the motors. So this is motor 1, right there. Okay, motor number 2. Come on, motor number 2. Motor number 3. Motor number 4. Excellent. So everything is working. The motors are all spinning. There's no bad tones. You know, there's nothing like grit. One thing you'll find, you shouldn't find this right off the bat, but after you fly, just a tip, watch out for dusty dirt, because dirt is sand is going to get inside here and it's going to start sounding gritty. That's almost seems inevitable, and you got to clean these things out really good. Watch out for the infields of baseball fields, because we're flying around places like this quite frequently. If you are going to crash, do your best to avoid the infield, because otherwise you're going to have a lot of motor cleaning.